Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And this is going to be a long one, so buckle up because it's about 30 minutes. It's going to be a very long video because this build ended up being so much bigger than I anticipated. And fun fact, it's like every couple of months I come out with this fun fact. Because I do it all the time. But this is a build that I actually started back in June of this year. Yes, June. So what? July, August, September, October, November. 5 months ago I started this and I just never finished it. And I don't know why. I never finished it. I really loved this house. I really loved the shape of it. I loved all the work that I did with the roofing because it's always, and I mean always, especially for me, a challenge to work with kind of that Dutch colonial style because the roofing and the shapes and everything like that are kind of difficult, I think, to achieve in The Sims 4, but we did it and I really liked the shape of this house. So hopefully you all enjoy it. I'm really glad that I finally finished it. And I think I finished it, I want to say the week before Thanksgiving in the US. That's always the fourth Thursday of the month of November, I want to say. So I think I finished it about the week before. And all I had left was the upstairs and the backyard. So I don't know why I didn't just finish this sooner. But anyway, the shape of the house is coming together. And from the exterior, it really doesn't look that big, but it ends up being pretty big. Like I said, I think it's about a 3-bedroom, which doesn't sound large, but it's 3 bedrooms. And I think there's a full bath and a half bath downstairs and then 2 full bathrooms upstairs. So technically it's 4 bathrooms, I want to say. And the bedrooms are kind of a smaller size just because, again, with the roofing and the shape of everything, it was a little bit challenging to make more space, but the downstairs is pretty spacious. And you could actually take the office that's downstairs and turn it into another bedroom if you wanted to. But we are working on the landscaping. I did change up the color scheme off camera because it was just not working for me. It was a little bit too bright, and I think the interior ends up being pretty bright. So I wanted to darken things up, kind of pull in some darker contrast, some bold contrast in coloring. I love how the black roof and just the white windows and everything, I don't know, it just really complements, everything complements one another. But I was trying to figure out how I wanted to shape the front yard because I wanted it to be pretty big, to be honest. And I ended up using the tool mod a ton because I used these shrubs from the debug menu of Get Together. They have like little flowers in them. They're really cute. But I used those to kind of frame the entire lot. And then I used this other one from the Get Together debug menu to start on the landscaping, which was mainly Get Together and Cottage Living. Now, I don't know. I just love the rose bushes that we got with Cottage Living that are in the debug menu. I think they're so freaking pretty. And I used the purple swatch. I don't think it really matches that much, but it kind of didn't have to, I guess. And the landscaping's a little bit unkempt, I'd say, around the house. Though again, those manicured shrubs surround the entire lot, which is so much bigger than I originally thought. Now you can see that in the top left-hand side of the screen, this is on the Brindleton Pawspital lot. So this is where the vet clinic actually is by default when you get cats and dogs and load into Brindleton Bay. I do change the name, don't worry, but it's a pretty big lot. I think this is a 30 by 40. I think it's a 30 by 40. And I want to say the one across the road as well, the Pupperstone Park or something, the dog park. I want to say that one's a similar size, though it's a different orientation. It's a pretty big lot. It was a lot of space to fill, and I was a bit scared that I wasn't going to be able to. Though again, the house is really big. The backyard ends up being huge, and I'm kind of really glad that I used a lot of the front yard to kind of create a nicer entrance to this home. Usually I have the stairs or the front of the build like right up against the edge of the lot. I don't usually give myself a ton of space, but I really like this because there is a walkway that goes to the backyard and up to the front steps. So it's a little bit more open, I suppose. And I'm also just carrying the landscaping through all these little corners of the lot, trying to use the terrain paint to give it a little bit of depth. And I kind of went all out. I used the little grass pieces from Cottage Living here to kind of frame the walkway in certain places and also to make it look like Well, actually, did I do it here? I thought I did it to make it look like there were little cracks in the stones too, but I think I just outlined certain parts and it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. And then I used some more of these grass pieces or some of the different ones to make it look as though the grass itself, the terrain, had a little bit more depth. I've talked about this before, the terrain itself and a lot of the terrain paints, even though they can add depth to maybe like a shrub or a bush, these little grass pieces here really give the ground a lot more depth. So I loved using those here. I just wanted it to look detailed. And now we're moving on to the interior, and you can see it's a big one. It's real big, and it's kind of an awkward floor plan, but I think it works, and it's a little bit different than some of my other floor plans, so I kind of just went with it. But there is going to be a kitchen, a living space, a formal dining room, though there are some bar height counters and stools in the kitchen. There's also going to be an office, and then, like I mentioned earlier, the full bathroom as well as the half bathroom that's downstairs. So that means that the other 2 bathrooms are upstairs with the 3 bedrooms, which is quite a lot. I'm actually surprised. That's actually quite a lot. But I didn't really have a plan going into this build. I think the only thing I was thinking, because my brain just automatically goes here, is that in New England, well, I don't know if this is necessarily fair to say, but I was going for coastal vibes because Brindleton Bay was modeled after New England, and it always makes me think of like Cape Cod and stuff like that, like the more coastal towns. So I did go with a lot of like blues and whites and maybe some lighter woods as well. I did struggle to come up with a floor plan though, or a layout, not a floor plan, a layout for the living space because there were so many entry points and this bigger window. So you can see me kind of fiddling around with things, being like, how the heck do I do this? And this is what I settled on. So there isn't a sofa that's directly facing the television, but I did use these sofas from Cats and Dogs. And I ended up putting like a coffee table, I think, in the middle. There's going to be a bookcase. And then just like a plant. I really didn't go too nuts with decorations in this build. And one thing, let me just say this now, that drove me absolutely nuts. You saw me just fiddling with the tool mod there with the curtains, because these curtains are technically only made for, I think, medium wall heights, which I did not use in this build. And they're from Cats and Dogs as well. So I think they only work with medium and tall wall heights. So what I had to do is use the tool mod to lower the curtain down so it looked like it appropriately fit. And I was so frustrated because in some parts of the build, it was perfectly fine, but every time I would load back into this build to work on it a little bit more, or whatever the case was, some of them would disappear. They would just be gone. Like I used the tool mod to move them, and I tried to make them the perfect height, and they would just disappear. So I ended up having to use, I want to say it's a curtain from Seasons, kind of like a tried and true, something I use all the dang time, but not all the curtains match in all of the rooms. Some of them, these blue curtains stayed, and in others they didn't, and it was so frustrating. I really couldn't pinpoint why, and I replaced them so many times, like at least 3 or 4 times. So I kind of gave up on that one and just used different curtains. So not all the curtains match, but I think that that's a little bit more realistic anyway, so who cares? But I am just cluttering up the living room a little tiny bit. I put a bit of toys there because I was envisioning at least one child sim in this family. I think going into it, I was thinking about a bigger family, maybe with a toddler, a child, and a teen at a minimum. But I ended up just making a room for the 2 parents, a teen room, and then a child room. So that's what we ended up with. It's only a family of 4. But again, you could of course add more Sims if you'd like, change up some rooms, do whatever you please. This is going to be the little entryway. I did overlap these mirrors here. I thought that was kind of a cute idea. I really, really enjoyed it. And I just added some clutter. Now this is well before we got the everyday clutter kit or the pastel pop kit. So these recordings here are back in June when I started this build. And it's not until we get to the kids' room that is where we kind of like picked up where we left off. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you see that there are certain items missing, if you see my UI change, because right now it's dark and I don't think it's dark when we're looking at the rest of the footage. It's really funny. I can pick up on all these things and I feel like calling them out because I feel like someone's going to pick up on them and they're going to be like, hey, like, why did that change? And then I'm going to have to answer it anyway. So I figured I would just call it out as I'm seeing it. But this is going to be the kitchen. Now, the layout of this kitchen is I would say unusual. I do not believe that your Sims can access those last 2 bar stools, but I was really just doing it for show. I wanted there to be an island. It seemed like such a big space to not have an island like this. And I wasn't really feeling a breakfast table in here, like an informal breakfast table. So I ended up just doing the bar height counters. I think one of them will work if you really want your Sim to sit there, but I didn't really mind. And I think that the clutter was really nice. I liked kind of laying everything out. It was just a little bit different from my normal kitchen. I tend to lay out my kitchens very similarly in almost all of my builds, so I wanted this one to be a bit different. I add some clutter on this corner cabinet here. I use this little storage bin thing from Dream Home Decorator, which I've done before, but I size it down and put it on top of the countertop because I'm kind of thinking that maybe that's where you could put like recipe cards and stuff like that, like a little recipe card organizer. I really liked that idea, so I did that here. I also added some pots and pans just for clutter. Now on top of that stove, it still will not prevent your Sims from using it because they actually use the front burner, like the front right burner, I think. So it won't cause any kind of issues. I did play test this, so it should be fine. Now, something I did notice as I was working through this footage though is the coffee maker. I do put a cabinet kind of over it and it cuts into the coffee maker. I did not test the coffee maker, so I apologize. You might have to get rid of it or move it somewhere else because I'm not sure if it's going to work. So that is the one thing that I will let you all know about because I didn't test it and I feel kind of bad. But I'm just adding the finishing touches here, of course, adding the lights and trying to come up with a few more decoration items to put on the wall so they look a little less bare. I don't like bare walls, even in my own home, so I tend to completely cover them with like paintings and other miscellaneous decorations in The Sims. I also use these little debug sticky notes and things like that from Parenthood and put them on the fridge as like little reminders. I love doing that. I think it adds such a nice little touch of realism. And now this is going to just be a hallway. Nothing too crazy is going to be here. The decorating is pretty minimal and the dining room is actually pretty big. But this little hallway, there's like this archway to, I guess, kind of like another hallway. I'm going to call it like a breezeway because it goes to a back sunroom of this build. There's also a closet, and then that's how you access the half bath as well, which I thought was kind of nice. The sunroom was something I didn't know what to do with, but you'll of course see it very soon. Now this is going to be the dining room, and I used this beautiful table from the My Wedding Stories game pack, matched with these chairs from Cats and Dogs. And again, very minimally decorated. I put maybe a few pieces of artwork, a mirror on this wall, and maybe like another plant, but I really didn't decorate it heavily. I just put a few decorations on the table as well, because I just felt as though it was very simplistic, very clean looking, and I really enjoyed that for this build. Now this is going to be the half bathroom. All the bathrooms are pretty much the same, so I don't think I show myself furnishing every single bathroom, but I did show the half bathroom and the full bathroom that was downstairs just so you guys could kind of see how they were decorated and how they were laid out. But I really liked the full bathroom downstairs. I thought that was a pretty decent size, so I was pleased with that. And I was trying to carry over all the curtains and sizing them down and using the tool mod. Some of them stuck yet again, some of them didn't. I also cluttered up this additional countertop here with just a few like calm, soothing bathroom items like that little succulent plant and the candle. And then I believe that we move on to, I want to say it's the sunroom. It's a sunroom. So I overlapped some of these windows from Cats and Dogs, and I thought this was a great opportunity to maybe make it like a little lounge music room type thing. So I did place the grand piano in here, which I feel like I'm now using more often, and I typically was not able to use it, so it's kind of exciting. But I do put an armchair in here, and then there's also going to be a stereo, so you could sit in here and listen to music, or you could come in here and play the piano or listen to someone else play it, which I thought was kind of nice. You could of course add more seating if you would like, but again, very plainly decorated. I didn't go nuts. And it was just a very simple, pretty room that let in so much light, and it gave me an opportunity to use an object that I do not get to use very much. And in this hallway, there's a few bookcases and a few more decoration items. I love taking that wardrobe from Cats and Dogs and putting it like right outside of a bathroom because it looks like it's holding a bunch of linens like towels and bed sheets and things. So I just feel like it's appropriate. It's kind of a realistic addition. And now over here is going to be the office. Now this office is crammed with stuff and things. There is this little tent that we got with Dream Home Decorator. I did size it down, but it is still usable. But I size that down, I toss that in the corner. There's gonna be another bookcase. And then there's going to be I'm gonna call it a family computer. I think that maybe one of the parents is really into crafting. Maybe it's even the teen, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But I think one of the parents is really into crafting. Maybe they have their own, at-home business or something like that. But this could also just be a family computer, but also kind of like a family playroom as well, since there is a child in this build. So you've got the tent, you've got a dollhouse in here. I think I've got the big stuffed animal, the little teddy bear like doctor toy thing, which I love so much. I always forget about it, but it's a toy that helps your Sims build. I think it's the empathy skill. I say skill, but it's basically the empathy thing. It's kind of like a little wheel, and you could build empathy, and then your Sims will end up with a particular trait if it's within the like good range or something by the time they age up. I love Parenthood so much. It's such a good pack. But I'm just decorating the desk here, trying to figure out what clutter I want to put here. Again, this was well before the everyday clutter kit, so I'm like watching this, thinking about all of the spaces where I could have put different clutter items that I didn't have yet, and I really didn't want to go back and redo a bunch of stuff with having there been so much time in between filming and finishing up this build. So you can put whatever you'd like. If that is a kit that you have and you want to add those items, please feel free to do so. But it's a very colorful, kid-friendly room. And then we move on to the upstairs, where I'm trying to sort out the floor plan and get as many bedrooms as I possibly can, because I knew it was going to be a challenge. But again, I did get 3 bedrooms and 2 more bathrooms up here, which I think is great. Now the kiddo is pretty lucky because they have an ensuite bathroom. Not the parents, not the teen, the child. The child has an ensuite bathroom. The other full bathroom that's up here, the parents and the teen have to share, which, you know what? I feel like everybody else got shafted except for that kid. The kid gets their own full bathroom. I don't see that happen very often. But the first room that we do work on is the teens room. I was originally thinking maybe 2 kids or maybe 2 teens with bunk beds so I could really utilize all the space. But at the time, again back in June, I had been doing a lot of builds with bunk beds. I had been trying to cram a lot of Sims into smaller spaces. So even though I was kind of going with this and I tried to come up with like this orange, black, and white color scheme, which was really aggressive and reminded me of Halloween. Like, it was a little bit too much. These spooky colors were not really what I was going for, but I do end up sticking with this theme of like a teen that really enjoys sports, and their room ends up being super messy. Again, I was going with kids at first. I was going with kids. I had a different idea, but I end up stripping all of this back and just putting these 2 single beds together, trying to make a headboard out of this little guitar wall decal, which I've done before, but it kind of wasn't working with the wallpaper I had. But that's when I decided, all right, this is going to be for, I think, a teen. I'm going to like calm things down just a little bit. Let me just think of a different color scheme. And this is what I went with. I kind of went with like this gray, black, and yellow instead, which I really enjoyed. I also used these pillows from the little campers kit, and I put them on top of the bed to kind of add a little bit more customization and personality. And the best part about doing that is they do not impact your Sim's ability to lay down in the bed. Your Sims kind of clip into them, but it doesn't prevent your Sim from using the bed, which is the best part. And I ended up, again, sticking with the sports theme, so I kept that lamp. I've got these like framed jerseys and stuff, which I always forget about. And I ended up using the tool mod to make it look as though that mirror was actually leaning and like sat on the floor, which I really enjoyed. And then I give this teen Sim, I think, a punching bag in the corner of their room. They've got some like sports clutter on the floor. I think they're a little bit messy. I think they're into a lot of different things too. So not just sports, because I do give them this like skeleton freezer bunny guitar, which I really liked. I always forget about the different swatches of that guitar, so I thought that was really nice. They've got like a pile of clothes near their hamper because they're messy and disorganized. And then here is the punching bag that I do give them. I've got a dresser over here that's got a ton of clutter. They've got like this repurposed armchair. Maybe not repurposed, but it's the one from Eco Lifestyle, so it's like the recycled armchair, because I kind of thought it fit the vibe of the room. I don't know, you could disagree, but I really liked it. And I don't know, it just felt like a really unique teens room. I really enjoyed it. I liked this room so much that when I loaded up this build again to finish it, I had actually forgotten what the other spaces looked like. I forgot the color scheme downstairs. I forgot what the teens room looked like. So as I was going through it, I was like, wow, like who did this? Who did this? I really like this teens room. Like this doesn't seem like my normal style or some of the design choices that I would typically make. So it's so funny when that happens. I've talked to my dear friend Rachel about this quite a few times, where we look back at some of our older builds, and at the time, like this is a 6-month-old build at this point that I picked up out of nowhere. We talk about this all the time, where we look back at our old builds and we're like, who did this? Like this, it's either we love it or we hate it, number one. But number two, if we end up liking it, we're just like, who the heck made these decisions? Like, I would never do that now. I would never make those design decisions now. And looking at this build, I kind of felt that way. But I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I think it kind of forced me to get back into that mindset to finish up the build too. So I was making some different design choices for the kids' room, and I can't wait for you to see it, because I really like the kids' room as much as I like the teens' room. Those are my 2 favorite rooms in this build, like hands down my favorite. And the parents' room is like very plainly decorated. That's what we're doing right now. We're decorating the parents' room, and because it's so small, I was able to cram this double bed in there. They've got a mirror, they have a dresser, but I do not clutter it up like crazy. I do add this picture frame, which I never do, from the Moschino stuff pack, so you can add like some of your Sims family photos in there if you'd like. I always forget about that item. I don't know why. No, I do know why. It's because I have my Sims frequently take photos, and I just plop those on the wall and don't place them in the electronic frames like that one. But this is going to be the kids' room. So at this point, you can see that rug is from the Pastel Pop Kit. So this is now officially the November footage to finish up this June build. But I loved this room. It's very purple and pink, but I think it's really fun. It has a lot of energy in it. I used a few wall decals too that I never used from like Seasons, because I was trying to filter down to color. So it kind of forced me to use some different things, which was really fun, such as this bed, like this swatch of the bed with the void critter on it. I never use it. Never ever use it. Same with that little side table from, is that from the kids' room stuff? Or is that from toddler stuff? Or is that from Laundry Day? I can't remember. Maybe it's Laundry Day. I don't know. I really don't know anymore. I know where a lot of items come from, but not all of them. But yeah, it was just a very vibrant kids' room. I think it was super fun. I mixed a ton of different patterns, like this little lamp here that I believe came from City Living. I used these little string lights from, is it Perfect Patio or Backyard Stuff? It's from Backyard Stuff for sure. Yeah, it's from Backyard Stuff. And I also gave this child sim the little like penguin TV on the bookshelf there, a little video game console. There's a mirror on the wall, the little toy chest, and then I also give them a creativity table. So there are a few different kid activities in here. And I don't know, I just had so much fun with the decorations and covering up every inch of wall space to try to make it a unique space for this child sim, and to kind of force myself to use some items that I just felt like I hadn't used in a long time. I think with my most recent apartment renovation, where I heavily used the Pastel Pop Kit, I was feeling pretty bold with the color choices, but I think it paid off. I think this kids' room is so cute. So hopefully you guys enjoy it too. But I do not show the, I think the hallways. I show some of the hallways. Actually, I'm going to show you guys a lot more than I thought I was going to. I do decorate this hallway upstairs, the landing area. There's just a console table with a lamp, and I think there's going to be a few pieces of artwork and a bench. Yeah, the bench from Cats and Dogs. I'm really trying to think through it. Like, I just did this. At the time of me doing this voiceover, I finished this build 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, and I already can't remember what I ended up doing. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I have the memory of a goldfish. I have talked about this before, but I do actually show this hallway. I think I do show the bathrooms as well, because I go up and down from the first floor to the second floor to just like copy over some items. But I don't think I show the hallway space that leads to the second story deck there. I think there's just 2 bookcases and a little love seat or something, because I had no freaking clue what to put in that space whatsoever. But since this child gets their own ensuite bathroom, lucky little things, since this child gets their own ensuite bathroom, I did decorate it kind of for them. So I used a few of the same colors and had some fun patterns and stuff in there. And that could, of course, evolve as that child sim gets older. But then this full bathroom here only has a bathtub, by the way, not a shower tub combo because it would have blocked the window. But yeah, I really, really liked it. But now we are working on that second story balcony. It's kind of it's a bigger balcony too. It's a little bit bigger than most of my balconies, but I thought it was really nice on top of that sunroom down on the first floor. So I do put a couple of like outdoor benches here. There is a telescope. Ever since we got that smaller telescope, I've been using it in many a build because that freaking observatory that we had before was a monstrosity and I never want to use it again, ever in my game, ever. I never want to see it again. I also added a few sets of rocking chairs on the front porches, which I thought was a really nice touch since there is this big front farmer's porch here. And then we start working on the backyard, which was so intimidating. It was so large. So the first thing that I knew I needed to do was just kind of separate the spaces and figure out maybe which parts were going to be landscaped, which parts were going to be a little less landscaped. And I ended up taking the path from the front. I did pull it to the back. So basically the backyard is split. I'm not going to say in half, but no, I am going to say in half. It's kind of sort of split in half. And one side there's a pool where you have like kind of all of that stonework from the front pathway that I pulled to the back. And then the other half is basically all grass where we have some like kids activities. And there's a chicken coop, which I was hesitant to do at first because I didn't think it was going to fit into this build. But I thought it was kind of a nice activity and one that I have not put in a build as of late. I can't even remember the last time I actually used a chicken coop. I think it was another build that I never finished from back in June. June was like the month of unfinished builds. I don't know why, but I think that was like the last time I used it. I can't even remember the last recent build where I used the chicken coop. Maybe I did it in like a cottage living build or something. Like maybe somewhere in Henford on Bagley. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But here is where I decided to kind of section off these two parts of the yard. I always hesitate, like this is a problem that I deal with. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but trying to use a actual path like this that isn't terrain paint, like a flooring, it's just the end of it is like it's so sharp, like especially surrounding these little like, I don't know, the little landscaped spaces. It just seems like a very abrupt start. Like there's a defined line where this stuff starts. And I know that I've used terrain paint to kind of sort of like blend things, but it just seems really aggressive to me, like very sudden. So I try to define that a little bit more with like the fence here and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys know what the heck I'm talking about or if you feel the same way. Definitely let me know because I just feel like it's a very aggressive cutoff, which is why I don't use pathways like this very often for like front yards or backyards and stuff. But I thought this was a really nice space. They have this smaller pool. I think it's a smaller pool. I did use the custom pool tool to kind of create a little bit of a different shape compared to just a rectangle. They've got this bigger dining table out here, a few lounge chairs, some floaties. They've got the grill so they can sit out here and actually have some like outside dining time. They've got like the diving thing too. I mean, they've got everything they need for the pool and those kind of fun activities. And then over here, we do have monkey bars and we've got the swing set. Now, what I wanted to do was use like the little slip and slide thing, but I feel like that's exceptionally seasonal. Granted, a pool is seasonal too, but it's not something that you like put away in the winter, you cover it. But I thought the slip and slide would be a little bit too seasonal, so I didn't use that here, but I realized I still had so much space. And my first thought, which I could have done, but I didn't, was to make a tree house. So you can see me like thinking of the idea here, but I wanted to use this tree to match because I used it in the front yard, but it is not the ideal tree at that size to try to make a tree house. So I abandoned the idea very quickly. Build your own if you must. But here's the chicken coop, which I do somewhat quote unquote fence off, so it's a little bit separate. And then that's pretty much it for the build. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm so glad I was finally able to share it. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. And I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
change into a sound, the one that's coming from your mouth. Don't mean to turn it upside down, I really wanna hear you out. I can't know how it is to be where you so calmly sit. When I'm further my own, there it is, catching only part of it. To just be, to really see something other than just me. To lean in, look around, open up to the sound. If I could give you more than half an ear, if I could give you more than half an ear. I hit the brakes, throw stones into a quiet lake. What is it you're really saying? I turn the thoughts to little waves, space on either side of every single word I write. I found you in another line. Notice all the time it takes to just be.